What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Agency Table Talk. We'll give everybody a few minutes to stroll in, I should say. I'm scrolling through the chat, so my brain is on scroll mode. Go ahead and tell me where you guys are watching from. Just say hi. Drop it in the chat. We've already got a few people here and watching. That's fantastic. Let me actually get my counter up. Okay, there it is. I think it's working. All right. Ecamm's got all these different windows. Let's see. Okay. All right, we're good. Chat's working. Make sure audio's good. I assume you guys will let me know if it's not. So I wanted to see this time. We're going to talk a little bit about how Digital Agency Table Talk works in just a second, just so anybody that's new understands what is going on here. But I wanted to see this time just who shows up organically. You know, I didn't send out my typical, I've got a big email list, a fairly big email list. And usually what I do is like an hour before, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be live in an hour and all of that. And I post a few times in the inner circle, make sure everybody is remembering, because people do forget, obviously. And then they get upset that they forget. And then they get upset that I didn't send them an email and all of that. But I just wanted to see, what is our turnout looking like when it's a little bit more organic and we're not just sending out the typical series of reminders that we normally do. I sent out one email, 10 minutes ago, just, quick reminder that we're going live, but obviously people don't check their email every 10 minutes. So we'll just see. We'll see who shows up. We've already got pretty decent numbers. California's here, Finland, the Netherlands. I mean, we have if you've watched any of the other digital table talks, I mean, we are absolutely worldwide, like, people from everywhere. And I think that's what's great about the inner circle as well, is there's just so much diversity. And if you are somewhere else in the world and you feel like, I don't know, is everybody going to be in the U.S.? Are they only going to have U.S. challenges? No. There's people from everywhere. Look at this. Armenia, Bucharest. We've got people in China, Nigeria. Oh, Akram's coming out from Wuhan. All right. Let's see. Marcus is here from Austria. Amanda's here. Oh, saw it in the BRICS Facebook group. Okay, somebody must have posted in BRICS, I guess. Fantastic. Jamaica in the building. Dublin. Central Pennsylvania. See, there's one U.S. I've listed out so many here. Denmark. We've got one person in the U.S. Of course, I am in Atlanta. And yes, our numbers are looking good. So let's talk about what Digital Agency Table Talk is. The goal here is to provide just as much value as we possibly can for agency owners and freelancers. So if you are a digital agency owner, if you do web design, SEO, PPC, whatever, doesn't matter. If you're a digital agency owner or you're a freelancer working in this field, this is for you. Digital Agency Table Talk is a place for you to come and see some great discussions. Of course, we have live guests. This is not a podcast. This is not a ask me anything type situation where I'm just reading through the chat. This is a situation where you're going to see real live people from all over the world come on as guests, and we're going to have a discussion about whatever they want to talk about related to digital agency and freelance work. We talk about getting leads. We talk about closing deals. We talk about SEO and digital marketing. And this is, when we talk about digital marketing, SEO, things like that, it can be for your agency, for your own business, or it can be for your clients, right? If you've got a client that's got some challenges and you're trying to solve those challenges and you want some strategic advice for them, you can come on as a guest and get that strategic advice. If you want feedback on UX or UI or dev work that you've done, I can do feedback. We can do screen sharing. We can do a lot of different stuff. We can talk about project management. We can talk about issues that you might be having with clients. We talk a lot about pricing and pricing models, scaling and just growing your agency. WordPress in general, page builders. We can talk about Automatic.css and frames. We can talk about a lot of different stuff, and you guys get to all watch for free. If you want to participate, if you want to actually be one of the people that gets to come on the show as a guest, live and in person, then you have to be a member of the Inner Circle. I'm going to go ahead and put the link up on the screen. It's digitalambition.co/inner circle. That's my private community where there are over, I think we're probably about to cross 900 active members. again, from all over the world. And this is your spot for getting education on all the topics that I just talked about. So education, discussion on all of those things is found inside the Inner Circle. And then you get the benefit of coming on to Digital Agency Table Talk as well. And basically just getting free coaching, free insight, or just an entertaining conversation if that's all you want as well. All right, let's check on the chat. Gavin says, love the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stuff from New York City. There we go. Another person from the U.S., Mexico, and Germany, and Portland. More from Nigeria, Los Angeles, Yorkshire, Western Australia. Love it. Okay. This is going to be, I think, maybe the last Digital Agency Table Talk without a guest. I wanted to do 5 solid sessions with just me. And now I think I'm going to start going into, now we're not going to have a guest like every time, okay? But I want to start mixing in the guests now. And when I talk about guests, I mean like another person who has another content creator or another coach or another industry leader or another, app developer or whatever. We're going to bring somebody in as a guest, and you're going to get access to them as well. So if you're going to be a guest on the show, you can actually ask them whatever you want to ask them. And so, maybe we get somebody like Thomas from Bricks. I don't know. You can ask Thomas whatever you feel like asking him. Maybe we get Design with Kraka. Maybe we get some of these other content creators. You can ask them whatever you want to talk about. If you have an idea for somebody you want to see on Digital Agency Table Talk, then what I would highly recommend you do, and this again is going to be Inner Circle people are going to be the people I listen to most on this. You go in the Inner Circle and you just let me know who you think would be a great guest to have on Digital Agency Table Talk. Who is somebody that you want to question or hear from? And I will see about getting them on the show. All right, so today we've got a couple people waiting in the green room already. We've got Pawan, and we've got, I think that's how you pronounce it, and we've got Reuben. And so we'll be bringing them on as guests here. I've been debating, if we have a little downtime here, I've been debating giving you guys a sneak peek of my new agency website. Been working on redesigning my agency website, really moving it from Oxygen to Bricks. It wasn't just like, I want to redesign the agency site. I never want to do that. It just doesn't sound fun to me. But I did need to move it from Oxygen to Bricks, and moving it gives me that opportunity to rebuild it, redesign it, make everything new again, and put some new ideas into it. And as you may know, well, you could just go to the existing agency website and see that I've been operating basically with a one-page website for a very, very long time because I don't use my website to get new clients. But for 2023, I do want to start moving in that direction. I want to make it a legit website that actually can go out there and bring in traffic and leads and will work better for PPC, even though it's already working very well for PPC. I think it could work even better for PPC. And I do want to scale up the PPC campaigns locally a bit. So, this is just moving from Oxygen to Bricks gives me this opportunity. And I've been debating maybe on Digital Agency Table Talk, I give you guys a sneak peek of what's going on. And because there are some unique things, and I want to show you maybe on the back end a little bit. I don't want to just show you the front end. We can actually go into the back end and have a little bit of discussion about how some of the aspects of it were built and organized, because these are questions that I get all the time. And of course, as you guys know, I put a lot of thought into scalability and maintainability and what's the easiest way to do these things and make sure that we're not creating a giant mess for the future, because you do have to scale sites and you do have to maintain sites, and we don't want that to be an absolute nightmare. So let's go. Before I bring on a guest, let's just drop in the chat. If you want to see a sneak peek, if you guys want to go through some of the aspects of the redesign that I'm working on, it's not ready yet. But it's very close. It's getting very close. So if you want to go see some of that and have a little discussion about it, you need to drop it in the chat and let me know that you are interested in seeing that. Nicholas says Elijah would be more interesting, in my opinion. I mean, look, Elijah is welcome to come on the show. He is very unlikely to do that. And he's very unlikely to do that. I know he's very unlikely to do that because I already invited him to have a discussion about it once. So, you guys could invite him. You guys could encourage him to come on the show, it would be, I would love to have that conversation. And I will try to make it as absolutely productive as I possibly can. But that is up to him. And the invite has already been open. The invite is open to Thomas as well. Thomas is a busy guy. Of course, I'm a busy guy. And here I am every week for you guys. So I don't know. Busy's not an excuse to me, right? It's like, what is more important than our community? That's kind of like what I feel. So we're going to make the time. I'm going to make the time. And we'll see who else is willing to make the time. All right. So everybody's saying yes, 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 yes. Go through the site. Okay. So if we have some downtime, we've got 2 people. I want to prioritize the 2 people in the green room. And hold on. Sorry, my cord was stuck on my chair. I'm going to prioritize the people in the green room, which the green room does have a spot open right now. So if you are wanting to get in the green room as a guest, then and then Hugh says, yes, also your opinion on website as a service. Okay. So I've got the sneak peek and I've got website as a service as our downtime topics. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to bring on Pawan, and we're going to have him as our first guest. Let me bring him in. Pawan, how are you doing?
I'm good, Kevin. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. So you're coming to us from India, is that correct?
Yep, right. I'm coming from India.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, Pawan, that's how you say
Okay.
it.
Good, good, good. We're off to a good start then. So give me a little bit of your background.
So basically, I'm a law graduate and I started off working as a corporate lawyer after I graduated from law school. But back when I was in law school, I used to do this side hustle of creating websites, whatever I picked up from YouTube with Elementor stuff and pretty basic stuff. But eventually, I was just doing freelancing on the side with my full time job, and I was struggling with Elementor basically, how bloated and everything it is. As soon as you kind of get a bit of an understanding that you what you expect from a page builder, and that is how I discovered Oxygen, and I found you, and I found Jonathan from Permaslug,
Yep.
and that is what helped me to kind of make that transition from going from Elementor to Oxygen. Did a couple of sites on Oxygen, and now I have kind of moved on to Bricks and have been doing my current projects on Bricks only. But the thing that I'm mostly struggling with is kind of scaling it to an agency apart from being just a sole freelancer. And I tried out hiring a bunch of interns and training them, but the process is like very time consuming and everything. I set up a physical office and everything, but just things are not kind of falling into place, and it's hard to find the kind of talent in my city basically. So location is also kind of an issue, that you could find developers who could use Oxygen or Bricks very like professionally or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the biggest challenge? Is it getting clients and filling the pipeline, or is it finding talent to help you?
um, so basically it's like I'm kind of stuck in between both of those. It's like I could actively go on looking for clients and trying to get into prospecting and everything, but then how would I tackle if I get the project? It's like if you have too many clients but you're not able to deliver, then that is also an issue. So it's just like a lot of confusion going on. Like some of it is like I am kind of responsible for as well, but then it's also about getting quality clients. Like in India, you would get small businesses who would want to do their websites below $1,000, which is not much, and it is hard to get clients who are based in first world countries while I'm in India. So that is also a challenge.
So is that where you get most of your clients right now, or have you managed to get any clients outside of India?
So most of the clients that I do get is like just word of mouth from past of the clients, and like most of them are Indian only. But then early on, I went on Fiverr, but that just seemed like an exploitive space as well. But I was active a bit on a freelancer group for Oxygen professionals on Facebook, and that is how I found Nate, who runs an agency in Vermont called Group Six Interactive, and I did one project with them, and it was a big project. So that was like a good starting point, like stepping out from India, doing client projects abroad. But yeah, it's hard to find clients abroad, like especially quality clients, not the ones on Fiverr who are just like people pretending to be clients, but are people who are actually just outsourcing their own work.
Right, right. Okay. So I made a video on this in the Inner Circle. It's the 3 best ways to get clients fast. I don't know if you've watched that video yet.
Yeah, I think a strategic partnership and PPC, and
Yeah.
there was one more.
The other one is free work. What I call low scope free work.
Right.
And you've already seen success with one of those things, which is strategic partnerships, right? Now, it doesn't sound like you got a whole project, but you got to work on a project, which is good, right?
Right.
And that project can start to go in your portfolio as well. So those are the 3 things. Now, I wouldn't say you're in the spot really to do PPC yet, probably. But if you focused on low scope free work and you focused on strategic partnerships, you need many more strategic partnerships, right? And for those of you watching, strategic partnership is you partner with, it's the milk and cookie strategy, right? You're not partnering with other people who do what you do. You're partnering with other agencies and freelancers who do complementary work to what you do. For example, I've gotten a ton of business from a branding partner. It's just a designer. All he focuses on is branding. He gets branding clients all the time, $3,500, $5,000 for branding, sometimes more than that. He also does some UX work, but he doesn't do web design really. He doesn't do web development. He does web design. And he doesn't really do web UX. He does like app UX, which is different from web UX. And so these businesses that he does branding for, which, he's got a long list of people coming to him for work. They need websites. As soon as he does a rebrand for them or a new brand for them, well, they need a web presence, right? So he passes them on to me and I pass him branding clients. And a lot of times we work on the projects together and we create co-proposals together. That's just one strategic partner, right? I have many other strategic partners. Most of my clients come from strategic partners. So strategic partners, and then of course, my own referral network for just word of mouth from clients that I've worked with. That's primary. Then PPC is a supplement to all of that. And because of that, I don't have to do content marketing. I don't have to do YouTube. I don't have to do all these other platforms, social media, any other types of advertising. That just feeds the pipeline there. It's strategic partnerships that are really, I think, going to unlock the keys for you. So have you sat down and really made a list of targets of like, these are people I want to go after in terms of building a strategic partnership?
Yeah, it's just like I am kind of getting there. Like I kind of followed this tip, and there's like a design studio based in Mumbai in India only. So yeah, I am kind of getting into that direction. Maybe I should implement that overseas as well, and it might work out.
I would definitely focus a little bit in India, but focus heavily on strategic partnerships overseas. Because right. if you do feel, I don't know anything about the market in India. So sometimes, look, I'll be honest with you. People in the U.S. tell me all the time, oh, in my area, people only want websites for $1,000 or less, right? And that's in the U.S. where I'm like, I know that's not the thing. I know that's wrong, right? I don't know anything about India. You could be 100% right, or you could be just like these people. And so I don't know. But I do know that there is opportunity in the U.S. and the U.K. and all these other places. So if you are building strategic partnerships in those areas, that's going to be very good for you.
Yeah, I think location is also like one factor, but like I have done clients for $3,000, $4,000 in India as well. So it's more of like a client thing as well, but just that the probability of such clients is higher abroad. There's also one technical question that I have, although you have made a very detailed video on it. When do you use utility classes like from the framework such as yours, ACSS, and when do you create custom classes? Because like the entire point of classes is that you do not have to replicate the changes all over the site again and again.
Right.
Like you just build a class once, slap it to a similar component, and you have it running. But like with utility frameworks, let's just say you are adding padding onto a section or something like that, and on a box, you have done it on 3 places. Now you just want to change it, so you have to go element by element and change the class of the utility framework. So how do you tackle that situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a popular question. People ask me that all the time. So I will answer that 100%. I want to say something about the price point, okay? And you're scaling, right? Because you said you've done a few sites for, it's like most people want sites for under 1,000, but I have done a few for 2,000, 3,000. And I'll tell you this right now, if you're doing sites, this is for everybody listening, if you're doing sites in the $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 range, you are destined to be a freelancer. Okay, there is no agency coming out of that. There is no room to build an agency in those price points. So they're okay price points for a freelancer if that's what you want to do. I still think freelancers should be charging more, but if that's the range you're in, you're a freelancer. You're going to be a freelancer until those prices get to 7,500 plus. Okay, when 7,500 plus starts happening, then agency can start happening. That's what I would say is the cutoff. Unless, and that's if you're doing like custom websites. If you're just doing templated websites for people and you're pumping out as many as you possibly can and you're going for 100% volume, then maybe you can build an agency in those lower price points. But because you're obviously the labor, you're not doing as much labor, right? But if you're doing legit projects, first of all, you can't really do a legit project. Like if you're talking about discovery, site mapping, UX, UI, dev, like in those stages, copywriting, there's no way they come in at the low price point, right? So it's not an agency pricing model at all. So we got to get you to where you're at 7,500 plus for these projects, and then it's not going to be a problem of how do I pay people, how do I bring people on that have enough talent and experience and things like this. It's not going to be a problem at that point. And by the way, you are in the inner circle. There's a space in the inner circle. When it does come time for you to need people to help you, there's a job board, right? Post in there and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody in bricks, and you have the benefit. The great thing, I've hired everybody that's on my team pretty much out of the inner circle, because I have the benefit of them, like all the training is already there. They already know my process, and they either use Oxygen or bricks. And so I don't have to worry about it. So it's just like go in there, grab the talent, and you're good to go. And you have the same opportunity that I do. The job board is there for you as well. So you can go get talent from there at any time. So let's shift gears and let's talk about classes versus custom classes. Utility classes, I should say, versus custom classes. And I think this is a good overall conversation because there is a debate, obviously, on what are called utility-first frameworks. A utility-first framework is the philosophy that we should style everything with utility classes. So you're not going to create custom classes. You're not going to style at the ID level. You're just going to put a utility class on everything. Okay. This would be a Tailwind approach. A Tailwind is a utility-first framework. I'm not calling it that. They call it that themselves. That is their philosophy that they themselves state with words out of their mouth. Okay, so I'm not painting a picture that's not real here. Okay, this is what Tailwind is, right? Tailwind is designed to be used in a code editor. It's like it's for not page builders, right? And in a code editor, it's fine because you have multi-cursor editing. You have a lot of different features that code editors have that page builders do not have. Page builders force you to add one class at a time, right? And it's a very slow process. And then you can't edit those in many different places at once. And so there's no real components. There's pseudo components in page builders. So there's a lot of downsides to using utility first. And in a page builder, utility first and utility classes in general, you have to be very careful with where you're using utility classes. Utility classes is almost like styling at the ID level. It's more efficient in terms of code output, right? But it's still one instruction in one place and on one element. And if I have three elements that look the same, but they all have individualized instructions, when I want to change the way that element looks, which is effectively one element, but it's in multiple places, I have to go from place to place to place to place, changing the utility class. So when you're developing a site, and if we get to the sneak peek, which we may get to, we don't have a lot of action in the green room. We've got Reuben in the green room. He's next. We'll see. So we may very well get to the sneak peek. If we get to the sneak peek, then I'll kind of walk through this a little bit. But when you're building the site, everything you put on the page, you ask yourself this question: am I going to use this again? And when I use it again, do I want it to look exactly like this? And if the answer is yes, or maybe, or possibly, or potentially, or any other synonym of that term, then you use a custom class. You don't use a utility class, and you 100% don't style at the ID level, okay? Right. If the answer is no, I'm confident that this is the only instance of this thing, of where I want this styling to be, use a utility class. Now, there's a trade-off in the sense that if you don't use utility classes and you don't style at the ID level, then what do? Well, you make a custom class. So the custom class has to be organized, because you can very easily create a bunch of custom classes with all these different names. And then in 3 months, I call it the 3-month rule. Everything that we do in web design should follow a 3-month rule, which is if I leave this project for 3 months and then I come back to it, am I going to be able to easily decipher what the hell I was doing, how I organized this thing and what these things all do? And if the answer is no, you've created a site that's not maintainable and not scalable. And that's a problem, right?
Right.
So we create these custom classes. I've taught the BEM method of organizing these custom classes, block, element, modifier, right? So we can keep all of our custom classes organized. But it is tedious. It's time consuming to create custom classes. And this is the argument that people that use Tailwind or utility first frameworks make. They're like, oh, I love the fact that I don't have to come up with custom class names anymore. I can just slap on my utility classes and move on with my day. And my argument to that is, okay, it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more planning to create custom classes, but you have to look at the result. The result is that I have a scalable, maintainable website with global control over all the elements that I need global control over, which saves a tremendous amount, an incalculable amount of time on the back end when I need to scale this site or maintain this site later. The savings of like, oh, it takes a little bit longer to come up with a custom class name, and that's why it's such a bad strategy. These people are in a horrible situation later with scalable maintainability, right? And then they're telling their client, oh, well, that's going to be hard to do. It's going to take all this work. We got to move backwards. And then they hate their own life. Yeah, they hate their own life when they're editing and maintaining these websites. But they argued against me because they don't want to take the little bit of time on the front end to just plan accordingly, right? And do something that is obviously more scalable and maintainable. So when you hear people argue against it, you have to understand the context of the entire situation, which many of these people don't do. Let's be honest. There's a lot of people out there saying, oh, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to worry about that. These people would be using Wix, right? If Bricks didn't exist, or Squarespace, if these weren't closed systems. These are not professionals, right? So you have to take what they're saying with a grain of salt, their arguments.
Also, like the BEM convention also, there was a discussion today on the inner circle as well. There's a lot of confusion between, you just name everything like on what it is basically. Let's just say it's a hero section. So the page block, you just give it a class hero. Inside that there's a container. So you go hero container. And then there's a heading, hero container heading. Then you have the rightmost heading. So you give it a modifier class, whatever. Like, I'm not like a pro at it. But then someone was saying that you don't have to name the class on what it actually is, but kind of overall what it is. Like, you don't name that if it's a hero section, you don't name the first thing as hero. You rather name it as section. So that like you have a universal section class wherein you have defined the top and bottom padding or something of that sort. Basically, you go for parent level elements, such as you have classes for heading, you have classes for the elements itself rather than where that element is situated.
Yeah. Okay. So this is where a lot of the challenge comes in. There is another type of class called what I call a contextual utility class. All right. And this is a utility class. See, most utility classes have no context to where they're used. Margin bottom doesn't tell me what has the margin bottom or where this has been used anywhere on the website. I have no idea. It could be used on a heading. It could be used on a container. It could be used on an image. It could be used anywhere. And so there's no context, right? There's a concept that I've been promoting it lately, and I use it in frames, called a contextual utility class. This would be like a grid gap, okay? Or a container gap or something like that. Or a content gap is a very popular one. I say popular one, I'm like the only person talking about it. It's a popular one for me. I use it all the time. I use content gap all the time, container gap all the time, grid gap all the time now. So what content gap does is it gaps my content. It's like the owl spacing technique that I use, except it actually uses flexbox gap, and it creates that equal spacing between elements on a page, all of my content, right? So if I ever want to tighten up my content spacing or widen up my content spacing, I'm free to edit the content gap utility class, which is not a specific class to an individual component. It's a class assigned to a concept, right? And I can safely edit it, which is very, very, very powerful. Whereas margin bottom, if I ever decide like, ooh, that has margin bottom on it, I want to tighten that up. Nope. No, you can't touch that class because you don't know where it's been used. You're going to just, you're going to mess up everything, right? So yes, contextual utility classes come into play as well. Now in your hero example, we can't just do that. You got to be very careful doing that because there's more than one type of hero on most websites, right? You would see, you would see a homepage hero is typically maybe larger, has more padding than a subpage hero. So we can't just have a hero class now. We've got to add more context to it. And this is where the Tailwind people would say, see, this is too much work. But, right, what's too much work is all the nonsense you have to do with a website built purely with utility classes. That's legitimately too much work. This just takes a little bit of thinking and brain power and ingenuity, which is not hard for us. So it's not an argument.
All right. Thank you so much for all the deep insight. It's very valuable, and it's a pleasure to be a part of the inner circle. It's very valuable, and I would try to kind of just convince everyone who's watching, if they are not a part of it, join it. There's a lot of value there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for coming on today.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day. All right, so we're going to bring in Reuben in just a second. I want to go through the chat here and just see what is going on. So it says, yes, Kevin plus Jonathan combo got me into Oxy first and now with bricks. By the way, shout out to Jonathan. Go ahead and if you're not subscribed to the PermaSlug channel on YouTube, don't do it now, right? You're already in a thing right now. But after this broadcast, go ahead and hop over to PermaSlug's channel. Go ahead and subscribe to him and give him a shout out. Will Automatic no longer be supported by Oxygen? Automatic CSS still works in Oxygen. We are still supporting Oxygen. That is not an issue. Let's see here. Tell Pawan that I'm from India and can help him on Oxygen. So Pawan, just Amit is in the chat here. Go find him. Connect with him. Jason Vargas says, got to be in India for some time, and this is accurate. Oh, got to be in India for some time, and this is accurate. They usually look for the cheapest. Convincing clients that all those are needed is sometimes a challenge unless you get into servicing corporations and larger companies. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. There's startups that have funding from various places that have fairly large budgets. There's a lot of small businesses with fairly large budgets. It really depends on your area, though, obviously. But you've got to look beyond your area and know how to branch out beyond your area as well, because we live in a worldwide marketplace, and there's nothing stopping you from going and getting clients from anywhere in the world. I think a lot of people stop themselves from doing that because they feel like, oh, it's going to be difficult for me to go and get clients from another country, but people do it all the time. So the step number one to all of this stuff is stop stopping yourself. That's another pricing tip, by the way, too. Most of you who are stuck in the low-level pricing are keeping yourself in the low-level pricing. It's just it. It's all a mindset thing. In fact, you can probably prove this to yourself. Like when you're scoping out projects, I almost guarantee what you're going to find yourself doing if you're introspective and honest with yourself and self-aware to any degree whatsoever, you're going to realize that you're trying to discount the project for your client before your client even asks you to discount the project. If you find yourself doing that, you have a pricing mindset issue. Most Squarespace websites make me cry. Absolutely. I don't know how people use Squarespace. It's awful. Absolutely awful. The best way to learn custom classes and BIM naming is to mess a project up and have to redesign it. Absolutely. Which we've all done. And that's the thing, guys. I'm not telling people to use BIM and custom classes and create scalable, maintainable websites just because it's like my personal opinion. It's like I've been in enough absolute disasters, and I've created enough absolute disasters just to know that what these people are arguing for, like pure utility, it's all absolute nonsense. And I know this from experience. And one of the things is we also have to be careful of is there's a lot of people who are maybe working on frameworks. I don't know anything about the actual creator of Tailwind, and I'm putting Tailwind aside because, like I said, Tailwind is not designed for page builders, and you shouldn't be using it in a page builder. But I have no problem with the Tailwind framework when it's used where it was designed to be used. That's fine. I don't have any problem with Tailwind. So everybody's like, oh, you're just a Tailwind hater. I'm not a Tailwind hater. I don't think Tailwind should be used in page builders. That's my argument. That's the end of my argument, okay? So for using Tailwind anywhere else, hey, have fun. Have fun using Tailwind anywhere else. I personally could care less. And in fact, use Tailwind in a page builder. I could care less there too. You know why? Because I'm not the one that has to maintain your website. So if you feel like, oh, Kevin's just wrong, I'm going to use Tailwind in page builders all day, go for it. Go for it, right? I don't have to live your life. I've built plenty of websites that are not scalable and not maintainable. So have fun with that. Do your thing. But what I'm saying is one thing, and again, I don't know what the background of the creator of Tailwind is or any of these people creating any of these other frameworks, but you have to be very careful taking advice from people who build things for agencies and freelancers, but who don't actually work with clients, who don't actually build websites in the real world. Be very, and this goes for people who develop page builders, not even just frameworks, right? Page builders in general. There are people who build page builders. Okay, we've got Zion, we've got Bricks, we've got Oxygen, we've got all these page builders. And all of these developers of page builders are going to have their own opinions on how things should be done. I don't really know the background on any of these people, but what I will say is be very careful taking advice from people who don't actually build websites for clients in the real world, okay? I build clients for websites in the real world. So I'm in this stuff day in and day out. If other people are not, you got to figure out, okay, which opinion perhaps has more weight, okay? We can all have theories. Theories are fantastic, but how those theories play out in real website builds with real clients in those situations, that's a thing. You could be the greatest boxer, UFC fighter in the gym, but until you've actually been in a match, we don't really know, do we? Right? You could be the best golfer on the practice, whatever the fuck it's called. If you haven't been in an actual match with other people, we don't really know. We don't really know how well your theories stack up or how well you perform, right? So it's kind of like that. You have to be very careful if they're not going blow for blow in the real world with actual client work. How much does their opinion really matter? And again, I don't know their backgrounds. I'm just saying. If we do find out the background at some point, that should inform you a little bit as to their opinion. For context, the design has already been done in Adobe XD. I was just scoping the work. Okay, that's part of another conversation. Cynthia says Tailwind is great, but indeed it must be used where it was designed to be used for. Okay, I agree. Just started learning Bricks and BIM concept, trying to figure out how to also use Jet Engine for dynamic data. I've seen a lot of Jet Engine talk recently, and I'm not sure why. I'm seeing it. I don't know if they've done some marketing push or their community's growing. I'm not sure. I've never personally used Jet Engine. I haven't felt a need to use Jet Engine. I've used advanced custom fields. I've used Metabox. I currently use Metabox for pretty much everything. So people do have a lot of Jet Engine questions. Unfortunately, I have zero experience with Jet Engine. So I can't really answer those. All right. Let's see. I think you accidentally said I build clients for websites in the real world. Yes. Okay. Talking is hard. All right, cool. So we are at the end of our live chat for right now. I'm going to go ahead and bring Reuben on as our next guest. I have no idea what Reuben wants to talk about, but we're going to bring him on and see. Reuben, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good, Kevin. How are you doing?
Good. What are we talking about today?
All right. It actually is with custom fields, Metabox. I've been using it for a while now, and they have this feature called creating custom tables. It is an extension called Metabox Custom Tables, and basically it's supposed to speed up the website. I've noticed you haven't really used this in your tutorials. Am I just barking up a tree that doesn't matter, or is it worth looking into creating custom tables for the custom fields?
Let's see. You're bringing this news to me. MB custom table. All right. Helps you save custom fields values to a custom table instead of the default WordPress meta table. All custom fields for a post are saved in a single row where each column contains the value of a corresponding field. So the goal here is to reduce the number of rows in the database, which helps improve performance when the data grows, unless you have all your data in one place. You can easily view, edit, import, and export it. Well, first glance, it sounds very interesting to me. Second glance, it seems like there's some research to be done here. Now we're going to have to weigh pros and cons. We're going to have to do a bunch of digging to see exactly. Are you confident that this actually in this format works with bricks?
Yeah, I've actually been using it on Oxygen and now the last few sites with bricks, and yeah, it does work.
Okay. Well, what do you think about it? What's your first take?
It's extra work because you have to check a field to say create a table.
Yep.
And the plugin will create the table automatically, but you have to give it a name. And so I'm sometimes worried that if I accidentally name it something that another table is created in the website, that there might be a conflict. I'm thinking maybe like products, like maybe I have a products custom field and then I end up installing WooCommerce, some stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really the only concern I had. And I wasn't sure if it's actually beneficial or is it just extra work. And yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it's more efficient from a database perspective. Of course, I'm not a database expert engineer. So what I typically do in these situations is I go to my team and I say, hey, there's this new thing called Metabox tables, and I give them the link to it. And then we all have a giant discussion about it. And there's people who know more about database stuff on my team than I do. And I take their word for it. And what if they say, yeah, this is going to be a lot more efficient, we should do it this way, then we start doing it that way. And if they say, juice isn't worth the squeeze, I say, okay, we'll keep doing it the way we've been doing it.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
that makes sense. But
you've brought it in as a topic, so what I will do is take it to my team. We will have this discussion, and then I will let everybody know in the inner circle especially, but maybe even in a future video. If we adopt it, okay, hold on. So here's an example. So Mateo in the chat, custom tables might be useful if you either have a lot of data because it will require less queries, or if you want to simplify data migrations and staging like with WooCommerce orders. And then Kashav says custom tables are helpful when you have a lot of products or post in single category or taxonomy. And it would work well with import-export plugins, etc. Custom tables is better to write to database queries performance, specifically when I can put my own indexes. Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of love in certain situations for custom tables.
Okay.
So it's something I'm going to need to look into deeper and potentially adopt.
Okay. I've got one other question. It's about Google Ads. I just was doing a weekly review, and a suggestion popped up to do the Google Ads enhanced conversion tracking.
Yes.
And that's the first time I saw it was just last week. Is that something you would definitely go with? And generally, do you follow Google's recommendations, or do you know what that is? I guess the enhanced conversion tracking that they're talking about.
Yeah, well, first of all, with the recommendations thing, Google kind of annoys me. It's like, because half their recommendations are absolutely terrible and just like, they lack context a lot of times. And then some of their recommendations are really good. And then if you look at the optimization score on your ad campaigns and your ads and such, right, it'll be like your ad is 67% optimized. If you go through and look at their suggestions and you just dismiss them all, then your campaign and your ad is 99% optimized, okay. Right? And you haven't even done anything. You just dismissed all their recommendations. So it really depends on what stage of the game you're in. Anything that's optimized based on conversions typically does better when you have a lot of conversion data in the system already. If it's a new campaign, if it's a new account, and you haven't put a lot of conversions through the campaign yet, doing that either by max clicks or some other method, then it's going to be tough for Google's algorithm to really figure out who should be targeted to get these conversions. So what I've been doing lately is I'll run a max clicks. I'll get as much traffic to the page as I possibly can. Obviously, a lot of that will convert over time. That conversion data is still there for Google to use. Then I go ahead and switch it to a conversion model. And that's been working fairly well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the only question I have. I'm looking forward to seeing the website, your new agency site.
Cool. All right. So we will probably bring it up in just a second here. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
All right. I saw another thing in the chat about website critiques. Somebody had mentioned, do you ever or would you ever do website critiques on Digital Agency Table Talk? The answer is yes. Yes. And actually, we have a situation where, there's downtime in Digital Agency Table Talk. I try to go for at least an hour. I have booked 90 minutes for everybody. So I will stay here for, you've got a lively discussion and guests and things like that, or just more things to talk about, or people interacting in the chat, but at least an hour. And so we're 45 minutes in right now. We're doing well. We've got close to 100 people watching live, which is fantastic. I want to talk about, so the website critiques. You don't have to be an Inner Circle member to get a website critique. So if you want a website critique, because I would love to do those, and I haven't done any yet on Digital Agency Table Talk, you don't have to be an Inner Circle member. You can just drop a link in the chat, or you can email me the link, and I'll pull up my email in just a second. Please don't spam me. Don't put me on your lists, okay? Just email me, kevin@digitalambition.co. With a website that you want critiqued, and let me know, I need to know if you built the site, okay? I need to know some background. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to butter you up, okay? I'm not going to put sunshine and rainbows all over your pile of shit if it is one. But, if you want honest feedback, then that's what I can give. We're going to need a video on custom tables. Okay, yes. Well, I will make one as soon as I know something about it. Jet Engine uses custom tables, hence using it. I do have a question I would love to ask, but I'll have to wait another week as my kids are going properly bonkers in the background today. Man, I know exactly, Michael, exactly how that works. Half my sales calls, my kids are going bonkers in the background. Kevin, would be great if you can prepare one of your awesome tutorials on how to properly migrate a local bricks build to fully deploy in live server for a client. Well, I don't build on local. So we build on development servers, and that way our entire team has access easily to the website so that they can go in and change whatever they need to change and work on whatever they need to work on. And then we just deploy from development server to live server, which in GridPane is like a few clicks and you're done. Do you use the similar audiences in Google, and how are you adopting because it won't be supported in the future? Yeah, audience tracking is tough. It really depends on the account. It depends on what we're doing, what the objectives are, what kind of ads we're running. No campaign is like, we don't set up like any campaign the same way. And we do a lot of testing and a lot of switching between different models for traffic and conversion and things like that. Will there be more templates added to frames on the launch? We've been adding templates to frames the entire time. So there is a change log for frames, and it lets you know what's been added or changed recently. But we're adding frames on an ongoing basis. And actually, the agency website that I'll pull up in just a second. And by the way, guys, the green room is still open. If you're in the Inner Circle, you can go in, grab the link, jump into the green room if you want to be a guest on the show. Let me put it on here. If you want to become a member of the Inner Circle, get all the good stuff that Inner Circle members have access to, the link is on the screen right now, and you can also get into the green room through there. But yes, we've been adding frames, and the agency rebuild that I'm about to show you was built with frames. So it's going to give you a good glimpse of how frames turns out when you use it on real websites. And by the way, I've used frames now. So I did a lot of testing with frames early on. It's getframes.io if anybody doesn't know what frames is or what we're talking about here. It's a rapid wireframing and what I call like a pre-design tool. And it's basically does all of the accessible development for you and gets you to the pre-design stage where you're ready to just apply the styles to customize the design of the website. And, I did a lot of early testing with it. And when I was doing a lot of early testing, I was like, man, this just feels like it's going to save a tremendous amount of time. And we just talked about the BIM classes, right? And how kind of time consuming it is to come up with names and apply the class to every single element on the page, a custom class to every single element on the page so that you have global control over all of these things. It is more time consuming, right? I've said many, many times that I could fly through, building a website or a page, if I just styled everything at the ID level, I could move light speed. If I used utility classes purely for everything, I can move it light speed. But the problem is on the back end, and this is where anybody that talks about, and you can see other creators too, they compare builders. Like, how fast can I build a page in Elementor? How fast can I build a page in Bricks? How fast can I build a page in Oxygen? None of that shit matters, because what matters is the scalability and maintainability on the back end. And if you build it very fast on the front end, right, just like I'm saying front end, like the early stage of the project, then you've completely screwed up the scalability and maintainability on the back end, which creates a tremendous amount of time and work that you're not accounting for in the time you saved or the speed to build a web page, right? So none of that stuff actually matters. What matters is scalability and maintainability. And when you use frames, all of the custom classes are already there for you. You don't have to think about any of that stuff. You don't have to apply them to anything. They're just sitting there waiting for you. And so early stage testing, I was like, this just feels like it's going to be fantastic. Then, over the past few weeks, I've actually used frames on 2 sites. One was a client website, and the other is our new agency website. And the results of just, first of all, there's a lot of, and I've been doing this for a long time, and with the agency website especially, I wasn't working from a design. I did not send it to my designer. I wanted to use frames in a way that I think many people will use frames, which is you add frames to the page and then you figure out how you want to style everything as you go, right? And you come up with ideas in your head and things that you want to try. And I wanted to make sure, I already know it works if you wireframe a page with frames and send that page to a designer designs it, and then you come back and style it. That, of course, it works like that. I wanted to see how well it would work if we just add the frames to a page and then decide as we go how we want this page to come to life. How would it work in this kind of situation? And one thing that I found is that when you are building pages and you care about accessibility and you care about scalability and you care about maintainability, building a new section that you want to test, which is like a theory. Here's the theory on how I want to lay this out. And if you do this in Bricks, it's a lot of work. And it's because you're dotting every T and crossing every I, as you should be. But then you're like, it's just not working. This concept that I had in my mind is not coming out on the page the way that I imagined it would. And I want to scrap this section and start over. You have just burned a serious amount of brain power and creativity, and just you start to get worn down by it, right? With frames, if you have a concept, you're like, oh, I want to test something out. You just pop the frame in and style it real quick. All of the structural work is already done for you. All the T's are crossed, all the I's are already dotted for you. You're just playing around with styling now. And it's very easy to bring something in, say, oh, no, don't like that, take it out, put a new one in, and then style it. Okay, that one works perfectly, and then move on to the next section. All of that actual legwork is taken out of the equation. So it's just more fun to work on a website again, and it's way less like mental effort to get things done. And so these 2 builds that I've done with frames have gone they've been the easiest websites that I've built to date. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Shall we do this? I can either talk about website as a service, or I can do the sneak peek of the agency website. I feel like you guys just want the sneak peek of the agency website. So let's go ahead and let me get down to the bottom here. You have me curious about Bricks. Oh, I have you curious about Bricks. Okay, well, Mr. Nate, let me tell you something. I've got a video concept. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's going to put the nail in the coffin of Oxygen, okay? And, I'm not attempting to do this. I'm just telling it like it is. That's all I can do. That's all I can do is report what I know to be reality, okay? I have a video coming out. I don't actually have a final number on it yet, but there's a lot of people, and it's aimed at people who still use Oxygen. It's not aimed at people who are thinking about purchasing Oxygen, which I don't think you should be thinking about. If you still use Oxygen, you are in a legitimate situation where you are still deciding, okay, do I jump ship? Do I go to Bricks? Right there. That's pretty much your main choice right now. You could go somewhere else, but your main choice is to go to bricks. And if you're an agency, you're probably still with Oxygen because the migration to bricks has a lot more moving parts, right? There's other people on the team. Maybe they're really good at Oxygen, but they're not really familiar with bricks yet. Even though the transition is not hard to make, okay, it's not a hard transition, there's still considerations. And I still realize that there's legitimate reasons why someone would still be using Oxygen. And I'm not knocking you if you're still using Oxygen and you're in that situation. Some people are more conservative with switching platforms than other people are. Some people are more positive on the outlook, okay, than other people are. But I'm about to do a video. And I don't have a final number, but I think we're up to something like 37. It's 37 examples of why bricks is better than Oxygen. And these are not like minor things. These are legitimate examples of why it's better. And because I've made the claim, and people have called me crazy, that bricks 1.5 points, whatever we're on right now, but the 1 is the critical part there, 1 point, okay? 1.5 is better than Oxygen 4 point whatever it's on, okay? The 1 and the 4 are all that matter. And people are like, that can't be right. He's just mad at Oxygen. He's People tell me this all the time. Like, for some reason, people still think that when I say something, it's because of a personal vendetta or I want to sell a product or You should know by now. I just tell you what I actually think. That's it. The reason I moved to bricks is because I think it's better, not because I hate Oxygen or the people who develop it or whatever. It's just a better platform. That's it. The reason I made ACSS is not because I wanted to make money or because I wanted to do this or because I wanted to do that or any of these other things people charge me with. It's because I wanted a better framework for myself and my agency, and so I built one. And then I opened it up to everybody else. That's it. Okay? There's no underlying vendetta. I tell people what I think. That's all I do. Tell people what I think. And when my opinion changes, I tell them, I used to think this, now I think this, right? So I'm trying to be as transparent as humanly possible. So when I put out this video, there's going to be a lot of people who say, oh, Kevin's just attacking Oxygen. Please don't think that, right? When I put out the article about you shouldn't use Tailwind in page builders, that's just because he wants to sell ACSS. No, it's because you legitimately shouldn't use Tailwind in page. I'm just trying to educate people, okay? And so you can't fault me because I have products and say, well, nothing he says can be listened to because he's got this underlying, vendetta. No, that's an illegitimate argument. Pay attention to the context and the content of what I'm actually saying. Am I making legitimate arguments against why you shouldn't use Tailwind in page builders? Quite yes, absolutely, obviously, okay? So pay attention to the content. When I put out this video, there's 37 reasons why bricks is better, or it's probably actually going to be more than 37 by the time the video is made. I've been tallying them up. It is because those are legitimate reasons. They are undeniable reasons. It doesn't have anything to do with what I think about Oxygen or the people who create Oxygen, okay? And bricks doesn't have an affiliate program, guys. I'm not selling bricks. I don't sell things for bricks. You can get ACSS with Oxygen if you want to. So there's no personal gain for me whatsoever in talking about Oxygen versus bricks. But people will somehow try to find an angle of why there is. But really, I'm just telling you reality. And there are, because people are like, how could it be? How could it be better? It's not just better. It's 37 reasons better. It's probably going to be over 40 reasons better by the time I make the video. That's a lot of reasons. That's a lot of better. Okay? And so I want to make the video because I want people to clearly see. Because the people who aren't quite sure, I don't really think have used bricks enough. And they haven't used bricks a lot. Okay? So I want to make the video once and for all. Here's the decision. If you're on that fence trying to make that decision, then I'm going to help make it for you. All right. Let's see. Okay. People want the sneak peek. Okay. This site is not done yet. Let me close my Basecamp here. Get Basecamp out of the way. Get the inner circle out of the way. All right. I'm shutting the green room down. We're going to go straight into screen sharing mode. We're just going to finish up with talking about this. As we go through this site, if you have questions, if you have comments, whatever, put everything in the chat. I don't care. Put everything in the chat, And I'm going to try to monitor the chat as best as I possibly can. Let's go ahead and screen share. Let's see if we can get this up on the screen. And let me know if you guys can see the screen. This is the inner circle, by the way. Okay. It's going up by a lot. We'll still be in LTD. I don't see the urge if you need to think more. Okay. All right. So people talking about child themes. Just make sure you guys can see the screen. Just need to know. I know there's a little bit of delay on the broadcast. Just waiting for better integration between Bricks and Jet Engine. It will be a powerhouse. Is Jet Engine on their roadmap? I haven't even looked at the roadmap in a while. All right, good. All right, screen is on. Okay, so let's go to... All right, we'll talk about some of the decisions that were made. We'll talk about some of the underlying infrastructure. Okay, so let's go through it. So this is the homepage. Nice big bold headline here. This is very, very similar to the old one. Keep in mind that this was built with frames as we go through this, okay? You should not be able to tell that this was built. And that's the thing is I could show you another website that I built with frames that looks completely different. And that's what is amazing about frames is it gives you that starting point that crosses all your T's and dots all your I's, but you can still create a fully custom website with it. You're not locked into like a certain look and feel. And if you do start with a certain look and feel like you do with other design sets, you don't have to work backwards. You don't have to take away styling in order to add your own styling. You get a clean slate to work from. You can make your own design decisions. So one thing I wanted to do is put a very faint, just accent photo back here. And I actually, I converted that to black and white. I actually took away all of the color information. So it really kind of like muddied it. It made it very muddy looking. I didn't want it to have a lot of detail, just a little bit of a feel to it. And so that is the hero section. We've got our links here, calls to action for Let's Talk, Tell Me More. You can see that those animate. When we do any sort of like, you know, engagement animation type hover effects, all that, this is kind of the extent of what I do. I don't do any heavy animation, bring things in from the sides and up and down and scroll around. I don't do any of that stuff. All right? I focus on content. I focus on clean. I focus on messaging. I focus on conversions. That's it. I don't focus on let's win animation awards. All right. This is something that really is difficult to do inside of Oxygen. It is a dynamic slider, carousel, really, and it shows the latest 3 projects. And this is driven by custom fields and meta box and a custom post type. So our projects, and I'll show you guys this on the back end, our projects are all a custom post type. And so this content right here, from this paragraph down to the end right here, is one custom field specifically for the featured projects area. So this is a latest / featured projects area. It's featured because it's on the homepage, right? So this is for featured project content. When we actually click through to the actual project page, which I'm really excited to show you guys in just a second, that's made with Gutenberg and different custom fields, separate custom fields. Again, I'll show you all this in the background or in the back end. But we have a project. So if I do a new project and I'm like, I want to get this project on the website, literally all I have to do is go add the project to the custom post type, fill out the fields, and hit publish. I put the images in, all that, and it's going to populate these 2 images, and it's going to populate this content inside of this slider. This slider will only ever have 3 things, okay? It'll never have any more than 3 items. You'll be able to rotate through those 3 items, right? And on the back end, on the actual project single page itself, it'll have a completely different design, but all driven, again, by the custom fields and the Gutenberg content, which you'll see in just a second. So all of this is dynamic, scalable, maintainable, okay? I never have to touch this slider in the actual template. It's all populated dynamically. That is the goal when you're building these kinds of things. Okay, so we go down. We got a little quote here. Great, fantastic. We've got our services. And what I did on this page is I put our services in manually because I grouped them in a specific way. So I wanted to present it on the home page. Instead of talking about everything that we do. I'll show you this actual services page in just a second, but I just wanted to group them into web design, website design, which this is going to be something we're going to be trying to rank for, right? And really position as the main offering. The main offering is website design, but we do other things. So what I listed here is like the components of website design to let people know, we're not just designers, right? We do the website strategy. We do UX. We do UI. We do the copywriting. We do development. We do conversion optimization. Okay, we do all these things. And so I'm just letting them know here that is part of that. And that's nice and sticky. So it kind of follows them down since that photo group on the right is a little bit taller. And then here we have digital marketing and advertising, where we list things like digital strategy and white hat SEO and digital PR and Google advertising, some of these other things that we do to drive traffic. So it's really like, let's build your home base and then let's get you a bunch of traffic and leads. That's really the two groups and the way that I've chosen to present the content on the homepage. This section is a placeholder right now. It is waiting for, I'm testing 2 or 3 different testimonial layout designs. And so that's just kind of sitting there. That's one of those areas waiting to be finished. But that's where testimonials is going to go. And then I've got this Why Us section on the homepage because I want a little bit of a write-up, just kind of a personal note from me as to why people should choose us, right? And I designed this little card with its little tricolor box shadow here. That's done with a box shadow. And that works really well, I think. And I'm going to put a video on this page, but I have to record the video. It's not recorded yet. Okay, so that is your homepage, and we've got our footer down here. Again, guys, this footer is straight out of Frames. But what you'll see, also you'll see on the buttons, a lot of people have asked me about automatic CSS buttons. They're like, I'd love to use the buttons in ACSS, but I can't have custom buttons. I'm just relegated to square buttons because that's what the ACSS dashboard has. Guys, you can customize the ACSS buttons all you want. This is an ACSS button right here, right? It's a button action, right? Button action right there. You see it. It's the new action button. And all I did is I made it look exactly how I wanted to. It's a little bit of custom CSS. So now every time I add a button action, it's going to look exactly like that. I think that's the only button on this page, but you'll see it on other pages as well. All right, this I added a little glass morphism. It may not come through on screen sharing. There's a very faint background pattern here, and you can actually see through with the glass morphism technique on this. And yes, so that is the end of the homepage. Okay, so let's move on to the About page. This is a page, again, we're still working on this, still under construction. I've got the same kind of header hero here, where we've got the very faint background image. Again, just really focusing on content here. I'm going to make a video right here. I just have a placeholder. It's our frames video. But this is going to talk about expertise, process, and communication, right? It's going to talk about really why the 3 things we focus on, you should choose us as an agency, because there's a lot of talented agencies out there, right? There's a lot of talented freelancers out there. But really it comes down to, you want to make sure that the person you hire, the agency you hire, has the expertise that you need to get the job done. But they also better have a rock solid process, or your shit's going to go off the rails. It's going to be late. It's going to be over budget. It's going to be a lot of things going wrong. So you need the expertise, 100%. You should hire for expertise, but you need to hire for process, and you need to hire for communication, because there's a lot of talented agencies out there who can't communicate worth a damn. And lots of project problems come from lack of communication. People constantly wondering, where's my project at? What's the progress? You want an agency that proactively communicates with you and that is completely open and honest with regard to all parts of the project. So these are the things, these are the talking points that I'm going to hit on in my video, which is also going to be just a nice introduction to me and how our agency does work, our philosophy, all that good stuff. Because we want a little bit of personal, aspects of this. So there's going to be a homepage video. There's going to be an about page video. There's also going to be a section. I am going to record some videos designed for education towards the type of businesses that I target. And so we'll eventually have a page for that as well. So people that come to the site are now going to really get a nice personal feel from it. They're not just going to see words and photos. They're going to hear from the actual agency owner and the people in the agency. We're still working on our about page here. We've got our experts page. Again, custom post type, guys. Custom post type, all queried onto the page, which also gives us the ability to have each person having their own individual page at some point. But I can query those anywhere that I want to. That's the about page. Frame right here, hero frame right here. This is a content frame. This is a features frame. This is a team member frame. All frames, just customized, okay? So that's the about. Let's go ahead and check out the services page. I'm going to go into the back end in just a second. We're going to take a look at some stuff. So the services, what I really wanted to do with this is I wanted to lay everything out, again, in groups. This is not currently, services is a custom post type, and I'll explain how that's going to work in a second. Right now, I'm not querying on this page from that custom post type. I have all of these in here manually. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's so new that I just want to get it out there, and we don't have the content for each of these, and we're not linking to them as individual pages yet, which we will in the future. And when we do start linking to them as individual pages, then they'll be queried dynamically. But all of the infrastructure is there. So these services are a custom post type, and they are all input as a custom post type. I'm just not querying them. I'm putting them in manually for now. So all of these use a sticky concept of the headings on the left-hand side, and then these are actually process cards, and these are frames, okay? So all I did, literally, it took me 5 seconds to pop this frame in. These process cards count for you automatically. So when I put a new one in, it's going to say 7. When I put a new one in, it's going to say 8. It counts automatically. All of it is structurally sound, okay? And I didn't have to cross any of those T's or dot any of those I's. I literally just popped it in, and then I put in the content, and then I moved on with my life. Second one down here talks about SEO, all the things that go into SEO. Again, we want people to understand that they hire a web designer, but they don't really realize what goes into the web design. They hire someone for SEO, but they don't really realize what goes into the SEO. So this gives them a glimpse into like the key components of what they're hiring for. Then we have pay-per-click. Then we have our analytics, all right? So that's just a simple page. It kind of does services overview. Now we have our latest projects. So our latest projects, this page took me all of 8 minutes to build because it's a frame. All right, we have a frame that does alternating feature content like this, but all I did was put in one of those frames. This is a query loop. This first block is a query loop that then queries the following two. They alternate automatically, and they pull the featured images from the custom post type. They pull this is the same content that was on the homepage, right? Just queried onto this page. So this page, this latest projects, which, I think looks pretty good. I like the little dual layer image concept here for kind of giving a glimpse of the work. 8 minutes. 8 minutes to build this page. This page was, again, probably 8 minutes. Putting in the content took longer, obviously, but actually getting the structure there, another 8-10 minutes. About page, not very long at all. Again, 15, 20 minutes. I don't know. Even like, doing a lot of the styling, it's just so quick because all the custom classes are already there for you. Homepage took a bit longer because I did a lot of, moving stuff around, experimentation, building the slider because we don't have a frame slider yet. We are building native carousel components, native toggle components, maybe a native menu component. There's a lot of stuff coming natively to frames, but it's not there yet. So this is built with the carousel, the native carousel inside of bricks. All right, so latest projects. Let's hop into a project. I'm going to do the project's detail page. Let me look at the chat real quick. Frames is basically accessible wireframing component. Okay, so people are asking what frames is. Really like the sticky idea on the side note with taller content on the other side. Yeah, I use that technique a lot. I just, it really doesn't do any good to have blank space there as somebody scrolls down. So the sticky element just kind of keeps that in their vision. And usually that sticky element like this, the heading and stuff is kind of important, right? So you kind of want it to stay in their vision. Wow, neat. Do you record the build of this new site? It would have been great to follow. No, I did not record the actual build process here. Can we do a tutorial on that newest projects section? I think you're talking about the carousel on the homepage. We could do that. Yes, love the hover styling on the main menu items. Okay. All right, good. So everybody's liking this. All right, let's take a look at the project details page. Now, this is a challenge for me, the project details page. I've thought about this many different ways. We as web designers, because pages can be very long. I also want to say, let's just pause for a second before I forget. I don't want to forget some things. Guys, this image, and I will say up front, this is not the most efficient way from a performance aspect to do this, but this image is auto-cropped. I did not want a situation where I had to create, like spend literally, dozens of minutes or potentially even hours taking all these screenshots of these different projects and cropping them to exact specifications and then uploading them to specific areas. That's a lot of work. What I wanted to do is go page by page, take a full screen capture, and then just load it in. And then the CSS and the website actually does all the magic. So this is a full page, gigantic screenshot, and it's just the CSS that I've written here auto crops it so it never gets higher than a certain height. And then it does the same thing for this one. So these are not cropped images. These are full. Now I do have Bricks has source set, right? So I'm only loading an image size. I have short pixel on the back end. So when I upload a gigantic screenshot, it creates about 12 different versions of it at different sizes. And I just load in the version that's the exact width that I need here. So it still appears to be full resolution. It's a lot taller than it is in real life. So yeah, there's a lot of information that has to be downloaded that's not actually being seen by the visitor in terms of like the size of this, but I've converted them all to WebP. So we're loading this all in WebP. And I haven't done any performance tests on the site. If we need to make other adjustments, we'll make them. But right now I'm focused on ease of me putting in new projects. Because if it takes me too much time and effort to put in a new project, you guys know what's going to happen, right? I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to put in the new project. And so we're going to have the same 3 projects sitting here on the site. And by the way, it does say this. I did not want to create there will be an archive, okay? But when somebody goes to my latest projects page, it says right here in the text, we truly believe in the motto, you're only as good as your last performance. That's what this page is about. It's a detailed account of our 3 latest projects so you can get an idea of what we've accomplished recently. The other reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to generate a lot of overwhelm. I think it's overwhelming for people to see a gazillion different projects, right? I want to take our latest stuff and I want to say, here's 3 examples of our latest stuff. If this isn't good enough for you, right, then we're probably not a good fit. Like of all other stuff you're looking at, if you're like, oh, I need to see 80 examples of your work. Sorry, you're a little too needy for me, honestly. So we're probably not a good fit. But you could clearly see by these latest 3 projects exactly what you need to see to know if we're going to be able to get the job done for you. That's kind of the concept here. And for most people, it limits the amount of stuff they have to digest. 3 projects, that's it. Let's take a look at them. Okay, so let's go in and look at the project details page. And as I was saying, this page is a challenge because the content is so tall and so big. And so what I've seen a lot of people do is they use those auto scrollers. So you hover over the image and it scrolls through the page for you. 2 problems with that, major problems with that. One, there's actually a third thing that I'll get to in a second. One is it's in a window. It's in like a little frame. So you don't really get a experience, right? You just kind of scrolling through basically amounts to a thumbnail. So you don't really get a good experience with it. 2, they're horrific for accessibility. I don't think there's any way to make them accessible as far as I know. So that's out of the window right off the bat. The other thing people do is they show a screenshot and then they just link to the client's site. I don't do that either, okay? Because things change, right? And clients make decisions over time that maybe we don't necessarily agree with. Sometimes clients go in against our will and make changes to things and things break. And like people will go to a client site they know that I built a long time ago. And they're like, hey, this XYZ is broken. And I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't break it, right? They broke it. And so even though I tell clients all the time, like, hey, don't edit your website. You have no business editing your website. Sometimes they get hard-headed and they go in and try to do things on their own. And they know that if they come back to me and say, hey, I broke it, they got to pay for me to fix it. All right, so it's not too big of a problem. But sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes they don't even know they broke it. And I'm not just scanning their website 24 hours a day looking for errors. So I don't want to link out to a project site because then somebody goes to the site and they're like, shit's broken. That looks bad on me. But it's like, I didn't break it, right? It's like they have access just like I do. And so things happen. So I want somebody to see what we actually built, right? And so the best way to do that, I felt, was full page. Let's go like as wide as we can get it. not like full browser width, but full page width. And so that's what this is about. So we've got the title of the project. This is that same screenshot, guys. Look, it's auto cropped. It's exactly this image right here. It just looks different because the CSS is treating it differently. It's auto cropping it and it applies the little layered box shadow. All right. This is all dynamically driven from a template. These are not individual pages. I don't ever have to touch this page or this template. Everything is happening from custom fields on the back end. These things right here, you see these little badges? These are the services queried from their custom post type with a bidirectional relationship. So I'll show you how we edit one of these project pages in just a second. But when I'm editing a new project page, all I do is tell it which services we did by selecting them from the database. Then I hit publish and these labels show up right here. So every project is going to have unique labels showing what we did for that specific project. And eventually, when these pages actually exist as service pages, they can actually be links. So somebody could click and go to the branding page. They could click and go to the UX design page or whatever. So that'll also become sort of like a tag-based navigation of sorts. Okay, so then we scroll down. And we've got this little divider here that goes subcaption or project details. So look, this is put in dynamically, and then I just wrote the word project details statically. So it'll always say the name of the project and then project details. And then there's a little call to action here. And this is a glass morphism box, so you can see through it. You probably can't see through it on screen share because the resolution's too low. But there is a faint background pattern down here that you'll be able to see, and you'll be able to see the text through it because this is a sticky element. I really wanted, because this is a long page, you're going to see in just a second. There's a lot of write-up. There's a lot of examples and photos. And so it's like a very long blog post almost. And so I didn't want people to just get lost in the content. I wanted the heading, like here, you're reading about Subcaptioner, the project details, and a call to action to follow them down the page the entire time they're reading. Because they may have an aha moment at some point while they're reading this project, and they're like, damn it, this is the agency I need to work with. Well, that work with us button better be right there waiting for them, okay? So as we scroll this down, you're going to see it sticks to the top. You can see the text a little bit blurry through there. That's the glass morphism technique. So that is a sticky little bar that you run into on your way down that's going to join you on your journey through this project, okay? And so we do all this write-up, we have branding, and now we go into full screen page width, I should say. It's not really full screen. It's full page width examples of the work, right? And we get to the web design. And this is what I like about this is because you almost get to have an experience as if you're scrolling down this web page. It's not, as big as it normally would be, obviously, but you still get the full experience. And so you just get to scroll and it's easy. There's nothing to interact with, okay? Nothing to hover your mouse over. You just scroll like you would on a blog post. And then you read in between. And it just works out really, really well to create like an immersive experience of going through these screens. And we talk about, some of the challenges that we ran into and yada, yada, yada. And then we eventually get to the end and we see a call to action. We run into our footer call to action, sandwich technique. Again, you got the calls to action at the top, calls to action at the bottom. Content is the meat of the sandwich. So we're all good here. So I really like this experience. What I did to create this little layered effect, because you notice all the content, the text content is narrow for easy readability, okay? Because you don't want these paragraphs going left to right. The problem is, what about these images? I did not want to have to remember, again, 3-month rule. 3-month rule says, can I come back in 3 months and create a new project without fucking it up? And if you have to put a class, like a breakout class or something like that on every image in a project write-up, you're going to forget or you're going to miss one. And then the whole shit's going to look broken. Or if you have to put a class on paragraphs to make them a paragraph width instead of page width, that's going to be a problem in 3 months too. You're not going to remember how any of this stuff works. So this is all done automatically with code, right? So CSS finds the headings and the paragraphs and targets them to bring them in and give them an auto left and right margin and a specific content width. And then it allows the images to just take up the rest of the container, the full width of the page width container. So it's very easy to go in and add a new project. Let's go ahead and show you that in, I don't want to edit that in Bricks. Let's edit the project. And I'll show you the template in just a second. But here we're using the Gutenberg block editor to create the write-up. That's all we're doing. So I'm literally just writing a blog post, okay? And then we get to the end. And then, of course, in the media gallery, and I'll show you guys a little tip trick too, because we want to make sure we don't forget alt images or alt tags. We want to make sure that we have captions on all of these as well. You'll see they all have a caption. So I'm going to go to the media gallery here, and I am going to go to, I've got it all organized into folders. So we'll go into Subcaptioner as an example. And I'm using, what is this plugin called? I never think of it, Admin Columns Pro. So I love Admin Columns Pro because notice on my gallery here, I have inline editing. I have the ability to see, and you can see here that we're still working on the Subcaptioner one, where we need to add alt text and captions to all these photos. Well, you could try to go, normally you would have to like edit a photo and then come down here and add the alt text, add the caption, go back, you know, all this nonsense. Well, with Admin Columns Pro, I can literally just click and I can edit the alt text right here. Click, edit the caption right here. And I can just do that down this screen. And then when I pull those images into Gutenberg, they are going to have their alt tag, they are going to have their caption. So prep work of just, let's upload all the screenshots, let's add in all the alt text, add in all the captions. And then when we build the blog post, the project post, it's all going to be there and ready for us. So that's kind of the workflow there. Let me go back to, yeah, here's our project. Okay, so we get down to the end. And let me go to the project box over here on the side panel. So there you see the featured image, right? That is a tall featured image. But remember, where it shows up in these different featured image areas, it's auto-cropped. So you only see the top part of it. And it's as tall as that container asks it to be. Sometimes we ask it to be full width. Sometimes we ask it to be a lot shorter. And it just adapts accordingly. And so we only need one featured image. I don't have to worry about different images for all these different spots. That's kind of the way we're rocking and rolling with it right now. Here's your related services right here. This is a bi-directional relationship field for our services, custom post types. You see over here, our services. So they're all put in as posts right here. And then all I have to do is choose the ones that we actually did. You just hit add more, select a service. It's going to query. There's all my options. I choose the one that I did. I'm going to delete that one so I don't put it on by accident as a duplicate. And then I hit update. And that's what creates those little labels on the project page. All happens dynamically. We come down here and we're going to see your hero lead. So I have the hero lead, which if we go to this page, let's go to here. Okay. That's this. So this hero lead, this is the hero. This is the lead paragraph. All right. So there's our hero lead right there. And then on our featured projects, we have it can have its own headline. Let me refresh this. What's going on with it? Auto save the post. Okay. Let's scroll down. There we go. So you can see the featured project headline. So on the home page, that's this headline right here. So that's what controls that. And then your featured project summary is just a WYSIWYG box, right? And so I can easily type in the little summary here, and that's where it shows up here. That's this paragraph with the little bullets, and they all follow the same exact format. So this is not a single custom field here, a single custom field for the list, a single custom field here. Now, I wanted to make it way easier than that, way easier than that. So all you do is literally do a little mini write-up, and then that's what's going to show in the project summary field. And then here's your mockup 1, mockup 2. That's what creates these overlapping images right here. So adding a new project is as easy as just hitting add new, fill out all these fields, write up your write-up, hit publish, make sure you have your related services tacked on, and a new thing is automatically added to the website. It shows up here as a full page. It shows up in the slider on the home page. It shows up on the latest projects page. It's going to show up on the archive page where all the projects will be listed, and that'll be paginated. So yes, that's how that all works with dynamic content. Let's go to the Let's Talk page. This page took 12 seconds to build because it's a frame. The entire page is a frame. All right, we have a frame that this works just really well for like simple little contact pages. We have a frame designed for a contact page. It comes with a bricks form, but this is actually a WS form. This WS form routes into HubSpot because I send all leads into HubSpot. So this has a direct HubSpot integration on it. and it already came with the bullets. It already came with the little 5-star badge on Google. And I want to show you something about these badges, right? Because sometimes you want to use these badges in a loop, in a query loop, but you want to, like, you can't use it in a query loop unless they're all 5-star reviews, right? Wrong. So this is the kind of the thought that we put into frames. Like the level of, when I say cross your T's and dot your I's, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. So we go in here and we're going to check on this little label. See, it's FR badge alpha icon. We're going to go to style, mind the icon, or yeah, there's the label. So the label is on Google. So you can change that to whatever you want, or that can be dynamic content. Someone's calling me. I'm going to mute them real quick. Okay. We're going to go 5-star, and we are going to go, look how it says icon. Look in the structure panel over here and up here in the heading. Icon with data attribute. So it's kind of giving you a context clue, because people are like, oh, how do I change? There's no content here. How do I change the 5 stars? Well, you go to attributes, data attribute badge value, and you can change it to whatever you need it to say. And if you're using this in a query loop, all you have to do is make a custom field for the star rating and then insert that dynamically here. And you can use these badges in query loops dynamically to display whatever the star rating actually is for the item being displayed. It doesn't always have to be static, one value. So again, this is the kind of detail that you get inside of frames, which is why also, there are two things about other similar offerings. Most of them are layout packs. They're not like frames. They're not for wireframing. They're like pre-designed stuff, okay? I've talked about a lot of the differences before, but one thing I want to note is how fast are they able to pump out new frames? One, the speed is related to how many T's are getting crossed and how many I's are getting dotted. So again, when I talked before about speed and scalability and maintainability, it's very important that we don't just try to pump out as much as we possibly can, as fast as we possibly can. We need to pump out stuff that has every T crossed and every I dotted. We're even still going back through older frames that we did in the very, very beginning and making sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted there. But it's also about this kind of stuff right here, like just making it easy for people to make scalable, maintainable websites, not just easy to add a layout to a page, right? We want to help you build sites that are more scalable and more maintainable. So this is the kind of thought that goes into that. And then you're also going to see these systems say, we've got 5 gazillion blocks. And then you actually look through the gallery and it's like, take this frame, imagine this one right here, all right? Content on the left and form on the right. And this is a frame, this is a layout for them, whatever they want to call it. Then they take this content and this form and they swap them and they're like, that's number 2. Like, we don't do that. We don't do that with frames. We know you can easily drag one thing you could swap them if you need to swap them. We don't need to create a whole new frame for that and call it another thing and inflate our number of frames, okay? Frames is designed to give you that starting point, knowing that you're working in a page builder. You can drag shit around, all right? We don't need to make this checklist go above this text and then there's another one, right? 5,000, we've got 5,000. We're not doing that, all right? We're creating legit, every frame is different from another frame fundamentally, and you're going to get something out of using a different one. It's not like, oh, I need this one because this one has the form on the left and the text on the right, and that one has the form on the right and the text on the left. That's not what we're doing here. So 2 little comments there. What else did I want to? Okay, let's go in the back end. We do back end stuff now. So you guys saw the CPT. So I go to Metabox post types. Here's what we're working with. So we've got our team, we've got our projects, we've got our services. Our FAQs are going to be dynamically generated, and then our reviews as well. So there's your custom post types. There's going to be a new one called service areas. So that's going to be for our service area pages. Those will be coming after we actually launch the site. And then we have our custom fields. So we have our team custom fields. So this controls our team members. This is very simple. I think there's only like 1 field in here, probably 2. So there's their position, which is like are they a web designer? Are they a developer? Whatever. And then you have their headshot. And then we'll go into page options. You guys have seen this before on tutorials. This goes back to, do you actually build real sites for clients, and do you actually teach things that are useful in the real world? I use this shit on my own sites. The stuff that I teach is not like, oh, this would be a good topic. Oh, let's do something fun. Let's do something cool. No, is it actually usable? Then I'll teach it. Because if it's not usable, I don't really have any interest in teaching it. I don't teach stuff because it sounds cool, looks cool, it's going to win a design award or anything else. I teach things that are practical that I actually use on my own sites. So there's your footer CTA visibility. Because guess what, guys? Why would you want to go to a Let's Talk page and see a fucking call to action for contacting you? Right here. Remember that call to action? Look how big my mouse is. Look how aggressive my mouse is right here. Do you want to see that? Look, because you see it on every other page. You come down here, this thing right here. Do you want to see that when you're already on the Let's Talk page? No, that's not a good situation, right? So we have the ability to click a little toggle and hide it on that page. Very simple. I've taught the technique before. I'm just showing you we actually use the stuff that we teach. So that's what that is. Let's go check the next one out. Projects detail page. So we're going to see how this is set up in the back end. So we have our project hero lead. Hold on, let me go into this other one. Projects featured. Okay, we're going to combine those. There you go. So you have your featured project headline, your featured project summary. I could probably combine those two. I don't know. We'll see. There's your mockup 1. There's your mockup 2. I just chose the single image. Now, before in Bricks, I think you were forced to use image advanced and then like limit it to only having one image, and because that was like the only field that worked with Bricks dynamic data. But I've tested all these now, and pretty much they all work flawlessly. And I think single image makes the most sense for these kinds of fields. So that's the one that I've been using. Just a little. I know I did a tutorial a while back where I was like, you have to use the advanced one because that's the only one that works. That's not the case anymore. You can actually use the single one now. All right, so testimonials is going to have, I don't even know if this one's built out yet. Yeah, it is. Okay, so you got the review, the title, and then the company that they work for. So it's very simple, guys. It's not, here's our relationships right here. We have a bi-directional relationship between projects and services. I've done I think it was Oxygen maybe that I did bi-directional relationships on. Let's go take a look at the template. I'll show you because this is probably a good little mini thing here. So I'm going to go to, and while you guys are here, this has turned into a tutorial and I love it. Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of the new site and what you're seeing and all the little tidbits here that we're talking about. Drop some comments below. We still got a lot of people watching. Drop some comments. Let's go look at the template. So we're going to go to Bricks templates and we're going to go to project single. Notice how they're named, right? You got to keep these things. This can get out of order very, very, very fast. So I got my header, I've got my footer, I have my project single post, my project's archive template, and then my hero main, which is not, that's just a section. Notice some of these are actual templates. Some of them are sections. I think you can use happy files to organize these into folders. I think. And I might look into doing that. All right, so let's go into single, edit with Bricks. Let's take a look at this template. So here's the magic. You can see that and if your guys are building a template and you're like, I can only see short codes, I can't see my actual content. Look, you go up here, settings wheel, template settings. You've set your conditions for your template. So my post type is projects. And then it's this thing that you're looking for right here. Populate content, single post page, and choose one of your posts to preview. And it will dynamically insert the information inside of the builder itself. Okay. So this is all very, very standard. If you've ever built a template with dynamic data before, here is, look at that. See that image? That's obviously not what you see right here because of the styling. That's it. I'm just using styling to manipulate the image, the same image, the way that I need it to appear wherever I need it to appear. Then I'm choosing the one that best matches. Look at all the ones that are generated, right? So that you're using source set so you can kind of choose the size you need. That's how that works there. Let's take a look at this. So we've got our services block in here with our services label. The services label is the query loop because you can't query loop a text element. Notice that it's not available to you. So you can only query loop a container. So this services label is just a div, but it's actually an LI because this is a list of items. Okay, so stick with me, right? The services box, this box that houses these labels, is an unordered list, right? This is what I talk about when I say cross your T's and dot your I's. Everything can't be a div, all right? Semantic HTML matters. So this is an unordered list. This is a list item. This is a query loop. So only one of these labels actually exists. It's this one right here. These are just dynamically generated. So if we look at our query loop here, you can see when you create, this is another thing that's better in Bricks than Oxygen. Remember my list, I told you I'm gonna do a video. It's gonna be like 40 fucking things of why Bricks is better than Oxygen. There's one of them right here. Query loop's better. And when you create bidirectional relationships, check this out, it just knows there's one there. Normally, this dropdown only says post, terms, or users. But the minute you create a bidirectional relationship in Bricks or in Metabox, Bricks detects it and it's like, hey, do you want to query that bidirectional relationship? I'm like, well, yeah, actually I do. Thank you. And so I click that and it's done. That's all you got to do. All right. So if you've set it up in the back end properly, Bricks has got your back. It's just one click away from getting those things queried up. And then you just dynamically insert the post title, which is the name of the service, right? So that is how that is created. This this little section right here, very important. I didn't make this another section, okay? So let me go to, here's our kind of our main window, right? Here's our sticky nav. So the sticky nav, I used a section, but I converted it into a div, right? So if I take that away, it's going to say section. But this is not really a section of content. It is just a div. And it's sticky. So I just went in and I don't know, where did I do this? Right here. There's the CSS right there. So it's got a background color. It's got a box shadow. These are all ACSS variables. Guys, when I say you can do anything, like ACSS does not create limitations, right? You would think that okay, I want to create this sticky thing that has a custom class and I'm still referencing all the colors from ACSS, even though they're transparent variations of the colors. This is my base, the ultra dark shade, the transparent version at 80%, okay? This is the ultra dark at 40%. So I'm still referencing these straight out of ACSS. And then we've got a backdrop filter of blur on there and then a little bit of a tiny border. And even the border, I'm just like, hey, I want the base color, but I want the light version. I want the 10% transparent version. And that's why on the front end, if I go to that, let's see, how do I get there? Let's go here. No, that's just going to be the template. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay, and then scroll down. You see that tiny little, very faint light border on there. That's still referenced in ACSS. I didn't have to just come up with some random color, some random variation of white or something like that. I'm still referencing everywhere ACSS colors, okay? All right, so that's that. What I wanted to point out is that is actually part of this section right here. And then it's just given a negative margin top of 5 rem. So that kind of pretty much perfectly centers it on that divider, but it's also set to be sticky, right? So if we go to layout, you can do this inside of Bricks, just position it sticky, top of 0, z-index to keep it on top. And so the negative margin that puts it in that position right there actually has 0 effect once it becomes sticky. So once it becomes sticky, it's just top 0, right? So you don't even have to do any adjustments there for that. So that's all good there. Like I said, that's dynamic data. You can see it right there. Post title, project details. And then this is just post content. So use the little post content module. Whatever you put in the Gutenberg builder is going to get dynamically inserted here. That controls all of that. And then that's it. That's the end of that template. So it's very simple, but the bidirectional relationships is really, really helpful because what a lot of people would do probably on the back end of this, so I'm going to go to edit project, is they would create a custom field that has checkboxes. Like I even thought about doing it this way. I was like, maybe I create checkboxes of the services and then I can check them off and then, why? Because that's not, that now you have to maintain a checklist that's separate from all your services that you put in your CPT. Why would you want to maintain 2 pieces of data? That's just a recipe for conflict. It's a recipe for inaccuracy. It's a recipe for bad maintainability and scalability. So you should have your CPT. That's already the data. There's your services right there in your CPT. So it makes sense to just use a bidirectional relationship to pull them into your projects depending on which one you want to choose. So there it is right there, the related services all pulled from a CPT. All right, what do you guys think? Any questions? Bricks looks slick. Yes, Bricks is very slick. Loving this. New site looks great. It's also making me realize my own site can be so much more than I was planning. Any thoughts on Quickly? No, not at the current time. I need to use it more. I will give you guys a heads up. We have officially started working on Gutenberg integration with ACSS. So there's your little sneak news piece for today. So that'll open the door to working in Quickly. That'll open the door to frames being available as blocks in Gutenberg. Oh, there's another sneak. There's a thumbs down from somebody. Whew. Okay. I don't know what you're thumbs downing. That was some good updates right there. I don't know what you're thumbs downing. Do you build differently in Bricks for accessibility than your Oxygen video, main and primary templates? Yeah, a little bit, because Bricks puts the main tag in the template for you. You don't have to do that like you do in Oxygen. It is a tiny bit of a limitation in certain scenarios, but it's not a deal breaker. Does ACF have relationships? Yes, but it requires another plugin. That's why I got away from ACSS. Metabox, everything happens in the Metabox system, one plugin. With ACF, you need ACF Pro. You're going to use the Pro version. Then you need the CPT UI plugin to actually create the custom pose types. Then you need, if you want to do relationships, the bidirectional relationship add-on thing. It's just like plugin after plugin after plugin. Metabox it's just one ecosystem, one plugin, and it just does it. And it works flawlessly. So why would I want to use ACF? All right. I have more than 5 reasons to review this session. Okay. Does Bricks have a mega menu? That's the only thing. Okay. And that's one thing I'm not done with yet. I actually haven't addressed this really at all on the site. That's still on my to-do list. So this menu right here is the default Bricks menu. All I did was add a little underline animated effect to these links. I'll show you what the out-of-the-box mobile menu looks like. And I don't even know when it's going to trigger, and it's the wrong color because I haven't even done anything with it yet. But if I click that, this is basically what you get. You get this little slide out, and it's inheriting the normal styling of text links on the site, that needs to be fixed. But this is just not good whatsoever. So I'm not even going to use this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off, okay? So there's either going to be a Bricks menu or there's not going to be. So when it gets to mobile, there's not going to be. I'm going to put in my own hamburger icon, and then I'm going to do like what I've done on the Automatic.css site. I have Bricks Extras, which has a lightbox, and I'm probably going to use a lightbox style menu for the mobile menu. And we're going to see how that's going to work out instead. Because if I'm going to fault Bricks in one area, of course, I would fault Oxygen in this area equally. It's the menu is atrocious. So I believe they're working on a rebuild, and I hope that they're working on a rebuild, but the menu is 100% atrocious. And so I will be honest about that. And I could do a video, guys, on 30 things I don't like about Bricks. I absolutely could, but there's no value in doing that because, one, it's still 1.5. It's still getting better. And I know that, when I put in a feature request, when I put in a bug fix thing, it gets taken care of by the Bricks team. It doesn't sit there for years and years and years. I want to focus on the positives of Bricks because it deserves to have the positives focused on. All right, so let's see what everybody's saying in the chat. I think we're running out of time. We are 100% over time, and I know people are. Well, we still got actually good viewership here. Thank you guys for sticking around. There's another plugin. Yes, there is. Version 1 of MM and Pop-Up have been promised by this year. I would love that. Absolutely cannot wait. Does Bricks loop query post in parent, post per page, or metadata query? Yeah, I believe all of those. Let's go. I'll show you guys the loop on the other page. Let's show you that slider on the homepage so you guys can get a feel for how that's done, because that's all natively done in Bricks. You cannot natively do this in Oxygen. You can do it with Oxy Extras, but the UX is actually better here in Bricks than even Oxy Extras. So here's the slider. Now, look, this is what people are going to be annoyed by, okay? Some people are going to complain about this. They're going to be like, the back end doesn't look like the front end. And yeah, okay, I can't see the styling because this is a WYSIWYG custom field, and I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why why this doesn't look like the front end, but it looks fine on the front. It looks exactly the way I want it to look on the front end, obviously. Okay, this is what I wanted to achieve, and I achieved it. So the fact that it looks a little different on the back doesn't bother me. It's like, to me, it's like this is just a placeholder letting me know what's going on. I mean, the slider actually still functions inside the builder, and this is all native. Now, what I did, let's look at the actual. So you select the nestable slider right here, and you're gonna get. And by the way, this is all way better than this is in Oxygen, right? I can even add a slide from right here. And guys, this wasn't even a slide. Let's start with this. This was not even a slide. This is a frame, straight out of frames that I customized, and then I dragged it into the nestable slider element in Bricks, and it works. You don't even have to like build in the slide that they give you. You can just delete all the slides and drag whatever you want, any container, into that slider, and it's going to behave the way that it's supposed to. And you don't even need to add custom classes to it or do anything else to make Bricks recognize it. So that was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. Now, and you see it was a featured project card is what I built. Then I just dragged that into the nestable slider, and it became this. So now we're going to look at the query. The featured project card is the query loop in itself. So it's querying projects. It's only querying 3 of them. And that was literally it. That was the only thing I had to do. But you can see here that they have like, is it a child of? You can do a child of the current page. You can do the child of another page. Very easy to do that there. This whole setup right here, the query loop is one of the things. When I do my video of like 40 things that Bricks is better than Oxygen, the query loop is better, but it also has like a sub list of like 12 different things. It's more powerful. It's easier to use. Everything about it is better. So you can offset if you want to create offsets for how you're querying things. You can ignore posts that are sticky with a little toggle here. If you're, the hard thing to do in Oxygen is I want to exclude the current post from my query. If you're on a blog post and you want to do related posts, and the related posts, when you query them, always contains the post you're already reading. Imagine that. And so you need to exclude it. Well, you need to figure out how to do that inside of Oxygen using the advanced query builder, using an actual WordPress hook and filter. And you don't have to do that in Bricks. You can just literally just click the toggle and be like, yeah, I just want to exclude the current post. And it will exclude the current post. There's your terms include, terms exclude. You've got taxonomy queries down here. You've got meta queries. And of course, you can query other things. Like you can query taxonomies. You can query users. So for your author pages, you can't query users in Oxygen. You can't query terms in Oxygen. You can only query posts. And there's my little bidirectional relationship sitting there whenever I want to use it. So yeah, it's that's how this is built. Let me show you the actual controls here for the slider. So there's some options here. So I wanted to fade, right? You can loop, you can slide, you can fade. I wanted to fade. So I got a fade effect. Height, I just switched to auto so that it actually conforms to the height of my card instead of trying to force them all to be the same height. There's your delay of how fast does it fade. And then I come down here to my arrows. This is the only part that I would say is a little bit tricky. So in Oxy Extras, they do this better because you can actually create your own arrow icons and you can put them anywhere on the page that you want, in any position you want, and they'll still control the slider. With Bricks, you don't really have that option. So these arrows are right here. They are not there by default. I'm going to switch to my class. There you go. So you can actually see what's going on. So I can control the height of them and the width of them. That's fine. But then I have to position them absolutely. And so I need to move that up by 1em. And then I had to bring it from the right side a little bit and then auto from the left. And then I had to do that with the next arrow. I can't actually put them where I want. I can only absolutely position them around the container. You can choose your icon, in fact, and they have more icon libraries than Oxygen. I need to add that to my list. More icon libraries than Oxygen by default. Okay. Adding that to the list. But you can choose your arrows if you want to customize those. And then the little dots down here are controlled by the pagination section, so I can hide those or show them. And then you can style them a little bit, but you can't really put them where you want them other than absolute positioning. So yeah, that's it. I mean, it's fairly simple. Okay, let's jump back to chat. That's going to be it for today. I am going to back to main camera. Okay. Well, goodbye Oxygen, switching to bricks. The only thing I still use Oxygen. Guys, it's okay. If you feel like, man, Kevin's really dogging on Oxygen and all this, it's okay because, according to them, I don't really influence sales. So, that was pretty much said explicitly. So no harm is being done to Oxygen in the making of these videos. That's been made clear. All right, so I know the price of frame. Should I share? Okay. Oh, okay. You know the price. I don't think you know the price yet. You know what it was. You know what the price was. I don't think you know what the price is. But we shall see. Official launch date of frames is Black Friday. Bricks Extras is a thing that I'll probably take some time for it to catch up to Oxy Extras. Yeah, it's coming along. It's still missing some stuff that Oxy Extras had. But the thing is Bricks is natively going to put them in. And by the way, Frames is going to have these components natively. Frames is going to have a carousel. Frames is going to have a lightbox. Frames is going to have a menu probably. It's going to have all these things natively because we don't want you. It should all work in the same ecosystem by the same developer. That would be fantastic, right? So all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted. Everything is designed to work together. You shouldn't need to go to Bricks Extras. You shouldn't need to hope that they put it natively inside of Bricks. It's just going to be an ACSS or Frames. You have those two things, every base is covered. Why? Because I need it for my own agency. Everything I would ever need to build a site in my own agency is going to be in either ACSS or it's going to be in Frames. So there you go. I have a recent project and I need to build a mega menu. What do you recommend? I don't know. Mega menus are tough. The menu situation in WordPress in general, not just in page builders, WordPress in general is an unmitigated disaster. All right, my phone's blowing up. I got to get out. As much as I would like to hang around and continue to converse, I've got to get out of here. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Hit like, hit subscribe. Make sure you drop a comment, and I'll be back next week. We're doing this every single week. Peace, guys. Love you.